Pope Francis is in Bangladesh this morning for the second part of his tour of Asia. He was greeted by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid in Dhaka. The Pope was just in Myanmar, where he was criticized for not talking about the plight of Rohingya Muslims. It's not known whether he brought up the issue with the Bangladeshi Prime Minister. Hundreds of thousands of Rohingya Muslims have fled to Bangladesh after Myanmar's army began a crackdown some have likened to ethnic cleansing. Farid Khan is a human rights activist who advocates for the rights of the Rohingya in Myanmar. He also sponsored a petition to strip Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi of her honorary Canadian citizenship. Good morning to you. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
What are your thoughts right now, your feelings about the fact that the Pope did not mention Rohingya during any of his public remarks in Myanmar? And I will remind our viewers that the Pope was asked not to. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm very disappointed, as are many activists who've been trying to advocate on behalf of the Rohingya. The Pope has, in the past, been very vocal on supporting human rights issues. He's even mentioned the Rohingya in a papal audience back in February of this year. He specifically talked about the Rohingya, how they are our brothers and sisters and how they're being persecuted just for practicing their faith or living their lives. So the fact that he didn't raise it is disappointing.
What would you have liked to hear from him, and what do you think it would have meant if he had, in fact, called out what is happening to them?
Well, if he even just mentioned the word Rohingya once, that would have been a huge positive act. It would have given a moral boost to the Rohingya cause. It also would have called out the Myanmar government and been a damning statement of their genocide agenda against the Rohingya. And it would have upheld the Pope's moral standing. As it is, the fact that he didn't mention the word Rohingya during any of his public remarks means that the Vatican and the officials who advised him basically caved in. I'm sure that he was under intense pressure by his advisors not to use that word. I think by his very nature, if that pressure had not been there, he would have actually mentioned the word Rohingya. But I'm sure that within the Vatican, there was immense pressure not to use that word.
So we don't know, as we pointed out, as it's been reported, what he has said to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, but what do you think he could have said? What influence do you think he could have had on him?
I don't know. Are you referring to the leader of Myanmar or the leader of Bangladesh?
Bangladesh.
Okay, so in his meeting with the leader of Bangladesh, I'm sure that because now he's off Myanmar soil, he is more free to address the issue. And whether it's in private meetings or publicly, I think that I imagine that Pope would be able to use the word Rohingya more freely. And by using the word, he then stands with the international community who is condemning Myanmar and trying to support the refugee crisis that's currently in Bangladesh, who are hosting more than 600,000 Rohingya refugees who have fled Myanmar.
Yeah, and one last question for you, because we mentioned at the outset that you would like to see Aung San Suu Kyi stripped of her honorary Canadian citizenship. Where does that stand right now, Farid?
Well, the petition has over 45,000 signatures, but in meetings with government MPs, as well as based on statements made by Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland, as well as the Prime Minister, it seems the government is not going to take that course of action. So if the government is not willing to do that, then I think we need to look at mechanisms within Canada. And there is a act, the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act, which basically any individual, any Canadian who is complicit in genocide and who refuses to act to prevent it can be charged. And if the Prime Minister and the government don't want to revoke that honorary citizenship, then maybe we need to look at that course of action.
Farid Khan, appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you.